Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Concerns about National Summer School Program. Chief Justice Brian Sykes tests positive for COVID-19. And later in sports, former captain Karen Pollard still critical of West Indies batsmen. I'm Giovanni Dennis and here are the details. Up first, a number of issues in the education sector is putting this year's staging of the National Summer School Program in jeopardy. The president of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools says some of the contentious issues are from last year. The education minister is promising the issues will be addressed. O'Shane Masters reports.
Of salaries to a number of teachers has been cited as one of the reasons for the lukewarm response to this year's National Summer School Program. President of the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, Linford Wright, has also pointed to a mixture of fatigue in both students and teachers. Mr. Wright says based on feedback he has received, there is lingering disgruntlement about issues from last year.
I think its reputation in terms of not having paid some teachers, based on what I'm hearing, is another thing that is making people just discontented with it. I think, too, that having come out of a year where you had both online learning and coming back to school and people intensifying the efforts just before the end of school to ensure that they try, getting many students back into shape. I think people are exhausted. I think what I hear from some teachers is that I just want my vacation now. And I think those kinds of things have mitigated, against it, being the kind of hit it maybe was expected to be by the ministry.
Now, Education Minister Favor Williams says those issues will be addressed.
I know that from the summer school last year, there might be a handful of teachers who have not been paid for a number of different reasons, and I am very sure that the ministry continues to work through those payments. There are not a lot of teachers from last year who would not have received payment yet. We are committed again to having summer school this year, and of course we commit to paying all those who participate in terms of teaching in our summer school.
In the meantime, Ms. Williams says the laptop program for teachers is on in earnest. Speaking to journalists in Clarendon recently, she said that over 8,852 vouchers have been handed out to teachers in primary schools across the island.
Of that, 1,139 have done so. They've redeemed. So you can still see that several hundreds of teachers have not redeemed their vouchers just yet.
As to concerns about the $90,000 value of the voucher, which some teachers complain is inadequate, the minister noted that based on discussions with eLearning Jamaica, the required devices could be purchased. However,
there are many teachers who probably would want something with more features, higher quality, and other things associated with the device. For that, you would have to pay an additional amount. But as far as I know, based on what I hear through our implementation agency, which is eLearning, is that there should not be any issues.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes has contracted COVID-19. He's experiencing mild symptoms. In a release this morning, the Court Administration Division said he will remain in isolation for 7 days, after which it is hoped he will resume work at the Supreme Court. Justice Sykes has been presiding over the One Don gang trial. To other news, as the bloodletting continues across the island, more suggestions about what is needed to deal with the problem. While speaking to reporters on Tuesday, PNP President Mark Golding highlighted several issues he argues need to be resolved in order to tackle crime. Sandy Williams reports.
The government has been utilizing states of emergency in crime-plagued communities. The most recent use of the measure was in St. Catherine, but after 14 days, the government decided not to ask Parliament for an extension of that SOE. However, this has not stopped the opposition from raising concerns. PNP President Mark Golding believes that this approach is one-sided, as he claims it does not address some of the key factors for crime reduction.
We want a balanced approach to dealing with the crime problem. So For example, we think that there's inadequate emphasis being placed on case preparation for people who are charged with serious offences and are brought before the court, ensuring that those cases are watertight and can withstand the scrutiny of a criminal trial.
Mr. Golding says bail applications need to be properly prepared to ensure violence producers are not given bail. The lack of resources in the police force is also of heightened concern for the parliamentary opposition. While bashing the Andrew Holness-led administration over its use of SOEs, Mr. Golding says the government has failed to equip law enforcers with the necessary tools needed to rid the country of crime and violence.
And all they can think about is a state of emergency, which is a system which is designed for when the state is under threat of subversion and which takes away the rights of the entire community. And that is not what the police really need. Our discussions with them indicate that what they need is a tool which will allow them to spearfish where they know so-and-so is a violence producer and is in danger of committing a murder or other act of serious violence, and they want to be able to take that person off the street. These things are very difficult, and these things are problematic, I should say, and we would be certainly addressing them were we in government.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
And the opposition is again blasting the government for its foreign policy. Member of Parliament for East Kingston and Port Royal, Philip Paulwell, says the country has basically lost its foothold at the negotiation table in CARICOM. Speaking at a divisional conference in Westmoreland at the weekend, he said Jamaica is no longer a leader. O'Shane Masters has the details.
The government is facing another backlash from the opposition over its role in CARICOM. Member of Parliament for East Kingston and Port Royal, Philip Paulwell, says the hold that the country once had on CARICOM is no longer present. He says in years gone by, Jamaica was a voice of reason on matters related to issues within CARICOM. However, that's no more.
When we look across the region now, there's no leadership from this government. In fact, Jamaica has to play second fiddle. And in that regard, we have to big up Comrade Mayor Motley, the Prime Minister of Barbados.
And the opposition has again blasted the Andrew Holness government for its decision to end the Petrocaribe deal with Venezuela. Jamaica had severed ties with the South American country after the United States imposed new sanctions on the Nicolas Maduro-led country.
And so today, when we are in this crisis, when we can't find a cheap source of energy, and when the world might run short on fuel, Venezuela is not there to assist us because of bad foreign policy. And we say to the government of Jamaica, in spite of what you have done, try to make up now. I'm very pleased to see the Americans. They are reaching out to Venezuela because Venezuela has the largest source of fuel, of oil and gas in the world.
However, Energy Minister Darrell Vaz, speaking during the sectoral debates in May, said the government was open to discussions on reapproaching Venezuela for the purchase of oil. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when we return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. A man who has been ailing for some time is desperately in need of help to save his life. He's expected to travel to the United States to treat his condition. But first, he needs your help.
The medical breakthrough that 53-year-old Courtney Carr from Seaview Gardens, St. Andrew has been dreaming of could become a reality, all thanks to a team of doctors from the United States.
What we're doing is rebuilding its whole structure. Mr. Carr has very serious diabetes.
Mr. Carr lived overseas and was a promoter for many years before he returned to Jamaica. It is here that he first discovered he's terribly ill.
Over 3 years now, to be honest, when I left Canada and come to Jamaica, and then I burned down a Seaview, and then was trying to open. A friend of mine did have a building down there. I'm going to go down there and see it and like it and burn down there. Try a wholesale down there, and to be honest, the wholesale, the first paper coat up faint me put from the building, me end up in the hospital.
In his case, these organs are starting to deteriorate. The heart is is deteriorating so fast that he does need to be in a program where the arteries can be cleaned out, the weak heart can be strengthened so that he can live many more years, and the fatty liver can be dealt with immediately.
The former music promoter is used to the business of the industry, but due to his condition, he's now confined to his bed. He suffers from diabetes that has damaged his kidneys and is now a dangerous threat to his heart.
One night I got in bed and find all of me had to tear out. So I walk out the park and drop down there, so they rush me up public. And come out and start put up the shelf them, then I got in bed and feel me hand dead. And I said, I feel like I get a stroke, so I don't know. So I said, I rush up, so been so done. And from then there, it just go like that. Like, me supposed to have a grand up in the wholesale, it don't make it. Come in up in the hospital. And
now Mr. Carr is hoping to get back to his normal life, but he needs the help of the public.
Be a son, I have to hurry up there, because every 2 weeks I'm in the hospital. I have a lot of medical records I can show you. Every 2 weeks, the public. Because I can't walk. All of them things, breathe. So when it starts, I can't move. So leave me have to leave. So I really and truly appreciate saving my life. And I do what I have to do. Because life, I don't have money like that. So I'm asking help. Because there's nobody perfect. So Master, please.
A GoFundMe account is set with the intermediary bank City US 33, with the beneficiary bank being the Jamaica National Bank. The SWIFT code is JNBS JMKN. Cody Barrett, TVJ News.
And it's now time for the Business Minute.
In the world of business, a group of 80 Saudi Arabian business interests will arrive in Jamaica on Friday for discussions with government officials on local investment prospects. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett made the revelation during a media briefing on Tuesday. He said it will be the largest and strongest group of investors from the Middle East to be hosted locally. And in business overseas, Norway has intervened to end a strike by oil and gas workers who threatened to cut off most of UK's gas imports from Norway. The UK imports about 50% of its gas, and Norway is its biggest supplier, making up 77% of imports. The Norwegian government has proposed a compulsory wage arbitration to settle the dispute. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Barrett.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In this evening's Health Report, we look at contact lenses.
It has to be fitted for the individual. So if it's to bring back their vision, we have to actually get your prescription, and we get the contact lens with that prescription in it. We also have to measure the surface of the eye, the curvature of the eye, because the contact lens has to actually follow the curvature. If it is a poor fitting contact lens, you can end up with a lot of problems with your eye.
That's a Health Report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Learn how to put in your contact lenses. Always clean your lenses. Keep contact lenses hydrated and follow your doctor's recommendation.
Time now for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In the region, the United States Coast Guard says it has offloaded an estimated 551 pounds of cocaine seized in the Caribbean Sea. It said 3 men, including 2 nationals from the Dominican Republic, had been apprehended and are facing U.S. federal prosecution in Puerto Rico. The U.S. Coast Guard said the interdiction is the result of multi-agency efforts in support of the Caribbean Corridor Strike Force. The seized cocaine has an estimated street value of US $5.2 million. On the international scene, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is facing his biggest crisis. At least 31 ministers and aides have now quit the government. Treasury Chief Rishi Sunak and Health Secretary Sajid Javid resigned yesterday. This comes after days of mounting pressure on Downing Street over the handling of allegations of sexual misconduct by a member of the government. 6 other members, including Kemi Badenoch, Lee Rowley, and Mims Davis, are the latest to quit. Johnson has insisted he won't leave despite a growing revolt against his leadership. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we now head to a quick break. When we come back, Renardo Brown will have the Midday Sports. Right up, sorry.
Welcome back. It's now time for your Midday Sports. Now, Chapelton Maroons will look to join Falkland in the semi-final of the Jamaica Football Federation Tier 2 competition as they look to push for one of the two spots the next season's Jamaica Premier League. Chapelton are set to host Downs FC at Turner's Playfield in one of 6 games today starting at 3:30 p.m. The Clarendon team, who are second on the table on 20 points, need only a draw to secure qualification to the last 4 ahead of the final match day. An interesting battle is also expected at York Sports Complex as host Baptist Alliance and Falmouth United clash with both teams still in contention for a last 4 spot. Falmouth are currently third on 16 points and a win could be enough to see them progress should other results go their way. Baptist Alliance are 2 points behind in 5th and 3 points would see both teams going into the final match day with a chance of progressing. Like Falmouth, Treasure Beach are also on 16 points, 4 shy of guaranteeing a spot in the semi-final. They will travel to Jarrett Park to face the already qualified Falkland United, who are unbeaten after 9 games. The other team in with a shot to make the semi-final is True Juice out of St. Catherine, who are currently 6th, but also on 14 points. True Juice will take on Lime Hall Academy at Drax Hall. The other games today will see Portlanders and bottom-placed Wadada meeting at Lynch Park, while Albion Mountain and Hopewell meet at Westmoreland Oval. In cricket form, West Indies Limited Overs captain Karen Pollard says he will not back down from comments he made earlier this year about the poor state of batting in the region. As West Indies captain, Pollard slammed regional players and officials for the poor state of batsmanship, leading to him being heavily criticised after the team's 2-1 ODI series loss to Ireland at Sabina Park. But speaking on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast on Tuesday, Pollard, who retired from international cricket in April, said no one is willing to accept the truth.
You look at the players and the batters that was coming out at that point in time. It wasn't great. Guys were getting 1 score in the entire season, right? And people will just say, you know what, after that 1 score, they need to play, because that is standard that we have set, for ourselves over a period of time. And it's funny that Bravo said that when he played 15 years ago, because I remember Darren Ganga saying the same thing at some point in time, and that was the previous era as well. And then coming now, it still has not. It had not changed, right? So, again, for us, we have to take
Now, still on cricket, left-arm Seema Mohamed Amir has been signed by the Jamaica Tallowers as one of 5 overseas players announced by the franchise. It will be a new experience for Amir, who will play his first season with the Jamaica franchise, having represented the Barbados Royals in last year's Caribbean Premier League. The other 4 overseas players have all had experience with the Tallowers in the past. Leg spinner Sandeep Lamichhane was with the franchise in 2020, where he took 12 wickets. Imadu Azim, Chris Green and Miguel Pretorius were all with the Tallowers in 2021 and will return this season as overseas signings. They joined Jamaicans Rothman Powell, Fabian Allen, Kennar Lewis and Brandon King, as well as Barbadian Shamar Brooks as players who were selected earlier this year. The Tallowers will have 7 more spots to fill at the Hero CPL draft, which will take place on Thursday. And finally, Shikhar Dhawan will lead India in the 3-match ODI series on their tour of the West Indies later this month. Ravindra Jadeja will serve as Dhawan's deputy in a 16-member squad that has notable absentees in Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Jasprit Bumrah, Rishabh Pant, Hardik Pandya, Mohammad Shami, as well as the injured KL Rahul. Dhawan led India 3 times in ODIs last year on the tour of Sri Lanka when other senior players were involved with the test side in England. India's tour of the West Indies and the USA begins with the ODI leg in Trinidad starting July 22. They will subsequently play 5 T20 internationals against the 2-time world champions in Trinidad, St. Kitts and in Lauderhill, Florida, with the tour finishing with the 2 T20s in the USA on August 6 and 7. And that's it for your Midday Sports Report. Giovanni, it's back to you.
Thanks so much, Ronaldo, and that's it indeed for the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.